Hey guys, it's Xander here. Welcome back to another episode of Deck Doctor. This is a mono black control deck that was submitted by one John Kirtley, and I like the deck. It looks pretty solid, but we're just going to tweak it a little bit to see if we can't make it a little bit more competitive. So to start off John's lineup, he's running a 4 of Doomed Dissenter, which is for 2, 1 and a black, a 1/1 human, with when Doomed Dissenter dies, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. A 4 of Burglar Rat, which is for 2, 1 and a black. A 1/1 rat, with when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Ravenous Chupacabra in a 3 of. I love this card, it's great. That's for 4, 2 and 2 black. It's a 2/2 Beast Horror, with when it enters the battlefield, you destroy target creature and opponent controls. A 3 of Child of Night, which is for 2, 1 and a black. It's a 2/1 vampire with lifelink. 2 copies of Demon of Catastrophes, which is for 4, 2 and 2 black. A 6/6 flying trample. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you have to sacrifice a creature. 2 copies of Plaguecrafter, which is for 3, so 2 and a black. It's a 3/2 human shaman. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. Each player who can't discards a card. A couple of copies of Kitesail Freebooter for 2, 1 and a black. It's a 1/2 human pirate with flying. And when it enters the battlefield, target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it. Exile that card until Kitesail Freebooter leaves the battlefield. 2 copies of Barrier of Bones, which is for 1 black. It's a 0/3 skeleton wall with defender. And when it enters the battlefield, you surveil 1. Touching on the spell side of stuff, a 3 of Murder, which is for 3, 1 and 2 black. At instant speed, you destroy target creature. Mind Rot, which is for 3, 2 and a black. At sorcery speed, you make target player discard 2 cards. 3 copies of Cast Down, which is for 2, 1 and a black. At instant speed, you destroy target non-legendary creature. 2 copies of The Eldest Reborn, which is a Saga for 5, 4 and a black. The turn it's played, each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker. The turn after it's played, each opponent discards a card. And then the following turn, you put target creature or planeswalker from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Insanely good card. Vraska's Contempt, bit of an all-star in standard at the moment. Vraska's Contempt is for 4, 2 and 2 black. At instant speed, exile target creature or planeswalker and gain 2 life. 2 copies of Twilight Prophet, which is for 4, 2 and 2 black. It's a 2/4 Vampire Cleric with flying and ascend. So if you control 10 or more permanents, you have the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. So if you control 10 or more permanents, you get the City's Blessing for the rest of the game. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have the City's Blessing, reveal the top card of your library and put that card into your hand. Each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is that card's converted mana cost. A couple of copies of Duress, which is for 1 black. At sorcery speed, target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-creature, non-land card from it, and that player discards that card. Land base is 21 swamps. So let's see what I did to the deck. Looking at my version of the list, you can see that the list looks pretty much the same. We are running more copies of a lot of stuff that was in 2s or 3-ofs in the last list. Because it is so good. I've cut out the Doom Dissenters and the Child of Nights because they're a bit more on the draft chaff side of stuff. I did keep the 4 of Burglar Rat because it is a cheap creature that does something the turn that you play it. We have bumped up Chupacabras to a 4 of. Being able to blow up creatures is always relevant. Plaguecrafters to a 4 of. Pseudo blow up creatures or make them discard, or even Planeswalkers. Insanely good if we can hit a Planeswalker with it. Kitesail Freebooter. Bump that up to a 4 of, because being able to attack their hand and get rid of their removal pieces in the early game is really good. Dusk Legion Zealot, replacing the Doom Dissenters, in there for the draw card. Yes, you lose life, but it's also a cheap creature that we can sacrifice to stuff like Plaguecrafter if we want to keep him as a 3/2 body. I don't like Demon of Catastrophes because of its have to sacrifice a creature to be able to play it, because if we've got an empty board, we're not going to be able to play it. So I've swapped those out for 2 copies of Doom Whisperer, which is for 5, 3 and 2 black. It's a 6/6 Nightmare Demon with flying and trample, and it's also got pay 2 life, surveil 2. So you can look at the top 2 cards of your library and put any number of those into the graveyard, and the rest on top. Insanely good card. It's definitely a finisher in the deck. Gives you the ability to filter off the top of your deck, which is great, and the more important thing is it doesn't cost us anything but the 5 mana to play it. Ended up keeping in the 2 copies of Twilight Prophet. Being able to hit Ascend shouldn't be too hard in this. When we are hitting Ascend and getting the card off the top of our deck, we do have a lot of 4 or 5 cost stuff. Means we can get huge amounts of damage in when it's out. We bumped the Eldest Reborn up to a 4 of. This card synergizing with the amount of removal that we have in the deck and the bit of discard that we do have, insanely good. The third tick, being able to recur stuff like Ravenous Chupacabra or Plaguecrafter, kind of just gets this control engine going. Awesome card. We definitely want to be running in a 4 of. Also running a 4 of Vraska's Contempt now, because exiling creatures or planeswalkers is really important in standard at the moment. Stuck with the 3 copies of Murder. You could be running another Cast Down here, or other black removal, but Murder isn't bad. We stuck with the 3 copies of Cast Down, and I'm also running a single copy of Argyl's Bloodfast in the main board here. For a bit of draw card. So Argyl's Bloodfast is for 2, 1 and a black. It's a legendary enchantment that sits on the battlefield, and it's pay 2, so 1 and a black. Pay 2 life, draw a card. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 5 or less life, you may transform Argyl's Bloodfast. When you transform it, it turns into Temple of Aklazots, which has tap for black mana, or tap sacrifice a creature. You gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. So if we've got a Doom Whisperer out, or we've got a Twilight Prophet, clutch play, being able to gain 6 or 4 life can be really good. Touching over the changed land base here, he was running just 21 straight swamps. We are now running 4 copies of Cabal Stronghold, which has tap for colorless, or pay 3 and add 1 black mana for each swamp you control. And we're also running a 4 of Memorial to Folly, which comes in tapped and has tap for black, but it's also got 3, so 2 and a black. Tap Sacrifice Memorial to Folly and return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. This card can seem a bit meh at times, but being able to have the extra recursion on top of the Eldest Reborn triggers that we already have, and get more Chupacabra triggers, more Plague Crafters, more Burglar Rats, more Dust Legions, just doubling up on all of these ETBs through a land, insanely good value. And then the last of the lands is 13 Swamps. Touching over the sideboard here, you'll see this is where the Duresses ended up, and now it's in a 4 of for the control matchups. 3 copies of Walk the Plank, which is for 2 black. At sorcery speed, you destroy a target non-Merfolk creature, which a lot of the times is going to be relevant. Moment of Craving in a 3 of, which is for 1 and a black. At instant speed, target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. You gain 2 life. Another copy of Argyl's Bloodfast, good in the control matchups. 2 copies of Sorcerer's Spyglass for the Planeswalker matchups. So Spyglass is for 2. It's an effect sits on the battlefield. And as Sorcerer's Spyglass enters the battlefield, you look at target opponent's hand and choose any card name. Activated abilities of the sources with the chosen name can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So Planeswalkers just can't use any of their abilities when this targets them, which is great. And 2 copies of Vicious Rumors, which is for 1 black. At sorcery speed, Vicious Rumors deals 1 damage to each opponent. Each opponent discards a card and then puts the top card of their library into the graveyard, and you gain 1 life. So this is a 4 for 1. Insanely good card. And that is my tweaked version of John Kirtley's Mono Black control deck. If you have a deck you'd like to submit to Deck Doctor, just post the deck list in the comments, and I'll add it to the list of decks I need to do for Deck Doctor. Thanks for watching, guys. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to see new videos as they were released. If you like what I do and you want to support the channel, you can throw me $1 on my Patreon at patreon.com/ZandersQuest. And I will see you guys in the next video. Keep questing, guys.